This is Philip Martin. This is OnFilm on Video. It's November 18th, 2022. Take a look at this.
This movie is not about the Me Too movement, and it's not about what happened after. It's about how this story was built.
Could we talk for a minute?
I've been waiting for this for 25 years.
It's interesting to tell a part of history that hasn't been told, and it was a wonderful way of honoring what they did.
Will you give me just one chance to talk to you?
This is not just a true story. This is a story which had an impact on the world. We knew it all, but what we did not know is who are Megan and Jody, and what did it take for them to get to the point to push the button and publish it.
It's about how these two women, these two working mothers, found a way to create an airtight story that they could publish in the New York Times that would affect that kind of change.
Hi.
Hi.
We're from the New York Times. I believe you used to work for Harvey Weinstein.
You have to imagine that every call you make is being recorded and you're being followed.
The greatest fear I had was fear of failure. Was Weinstein a scary figure? Absolutely. To sources, to the women he victimized? Of course.
As we continued to report, the stakes just felt higher and higher and higher, that if we were not able to publish this story, this predator would be able to go on and hurt more women.
It was like he took my voice that day, just when I was about to start finding it.
That was something that was terrifying to us and also extremely motivating.
The only way these women are going to go on the record
Is if they all jump together.
I think that the individual transformation that a lot of us has had as a result of this reporting has allowed women's consciousness to transform, and that affects finding voice and being able to stand up for oneself.
There's such integrity at the heart of what they do, and seeing actually what lengths real journalists go to.
The core of this movie is the encounter, the collision between something so intimate and something so vital to be talked about.
This is all going to come out, Lanny, publicly.
We're not activists, we're journalists, but we believe revealing the truth and putting certain problems on the table, we can begin solving them, even if it's very messy.
I think it's a really uplifting movie. It's really inspiring to see the huge difference that a relatively small number of brave people can make when they decide to step forward and speak the truth. It's incredible. Truth matters.
I'll do it. I'll go on the record.
It's a film full of women being courageous, and I don't think there's that many examples of that on screen.
Do you wish you hadn't signed up for this story? Do you? No.
Here is a film of countless examples of female heroism. That's something really to be celebrated.
I hope women come to see this film and feel themselves represented and feel that speaking up when something happens could be something that is supported and could make a change. We're not there yet, but as long as we keep going on this path, the change is possible.
This is bigger than Weinstein. This is about the system protecting abusers. I was silenced. I want my voice back.
Okay, everybody, I'm back. We changed cameras. We were having a little bit of a problem with the other ones, so we changed cameras. You may notice a difference in the quality of the picture. But here, I'm back. I haven't seen She Said. I want to see it, and I expect it to be fairly accurate. I expect it to be a pretty involving, newspaper procedural, journalism procedural. I think that, like most people who work in a business, an industry that is sometimes portrayed in the media, or portrayed on film in movies, I will see things that don't really fit with my experience. It's not really that way. But I can forgive that because I know that when we're telling stories, we always condense and abridge and compress and lead. And there's no real way to map the truth. It would be as big, the map would be as big as the territory. And what Carl Bernstein said about journalism being the best obtainable version of the truth, I would amend that a little bit. It's one of the obtainable versions of the truth, of a truth, if it's done right. It's not the only truth. It's not even the whole story, because there's always factors that are going to be left out, and you just can't do that. You're telling, this is a story about a specific thing, and we're going to lead it here, and it's going to speak to some larger issues in our society. Okay, that's how you frame it. You could also frame it in more a nihilistic way. It's just that bad things happen. You could go any way with it, any number of ways, and it would still be accurate. There's a lot of facts you could pick up. There are a lot of details you could leave in or leave out. One of the films that really gets to this, that I just saw it last night, and it's coming out, I believe, in early December. It's Sarah Pauli's Women Talking. And I don't know the backstory on this exactly, but it's based in an actual thing that happened in a isolated Mennonite community about 12 years ago. The women were very upset when they discovered that a group of men in the community had been raping their daughters and themselves, drugging them and raping them, and then they were telling them that, well, this was some sort of supernatural manifestation. It was the devil. It was your own wicked imagination or whatever. And after this comes to light, and they have the men arrested basically and dragged off to jail, they have a couple of meetings, or they actually have, I guess it's a day and a night, where they have to talk about what they're going to do, about their response to this. And the title is not misleading. The title is Women Talking, and that's basically what it is. It's women talking in a hayloft with Ben Wishlaw taking notes, taking the minutes of these meetings. It's a fascinating film. It's very stagey. I wouldn't recommend it for a general movie-going audience. It's not entertainment. It's really not. It's an intellectual exercise. It's sort of like an Arthur Miller play. Reminds me a little bit of The Crucible. I mean, I'm not saying nobody would like it. I liked it a lot. I think my wife Karen liked it a lot, but I think she's also of the mind that she's not going to recommend it to anybody. But I guess I'm recommending it in a limited way to you guys right now. If you're this deep into this and you're watching this, I think it would make a good double feature or counterbalance to She Said. In fact, I was joking about, it afterwards, after the screening last night. I said, well, if it is the lead film in our section that week, and it may well be, I don't know what else is opening on December 2nd or whatever, I might just use the headline, She Said. But it's a harrowing film to watch if you're, an American male. It's tough to watch. These are terrible crimes. The presumptions that these men make and the privilege they enjoy is really terrible. And the arguments that the women lodge are fascinating. And it goes back and forth, and some really good actors, Claire Foy, Jessie Buckley, Frances McDormand is in it, but she doesn't have a huge role in it. Judith Ivey is in it. Mistook her for Sherry Jones at one point, but it was Judith Ivey. And some younger actors who are really, really good. And it's almost completely female cast, and it's a polemic. I have not liked some Sarah Pauli movies in the past. There's some I've really liked. There's one I've blocked out I really didn't like. It was Michelle Williams, and I just kind of trashed it. This redeems her for me. I really think it's really good film, and I really think it's got some really interesting ideas. I don't know that anybody is going to go see it, and I don't know that I could, in good conscience, say, like when I'm on the radio on Friday to that sort of audience, like, hey, this is a fun movie to go see. It's not a fun movie to go see. It's a movie you go see out of obligation, because you want to become a better person, because you want to understand these issues, because you have empathy with the victims of sexual violence, for any number of reasons. Not for a good time, not to sit there and chomp popcorn. And anyway, I've got one more thing that we want to go through, and we'll be right back after this. Oh, no, I want to introduce this. This is a movie nobody on my staff reviewed this, but we did get a review of it late, and it sounds like it's pretty good. So hang on, here it is.
Good evening. Welcome to Hawthorne. The Menu is a film about a high-end restaurant run by a high-end chef who has his own agenda. I'm Julian Slowick, and tonight it'll be our pleasure to feed you. As each course is produced, it gets a little weirder and darker until things get very dark indeed.
Margot's been invited to the best restaurant in the world. There's a level of discomfort she has that keeps continuing to grow.
It's official. Tonight will be madness.
Expecting the menu of a lifetime, only to discover that there's a much bigger plan at play.
Please hold still.
I got really lucky with the cast. We needed to walk this specific line of taking the humanity very seriously without going the other way and making it camp.
Waiting in 5. Yes, Chef! I love you all.
We love you too, Chef! Slowick is obviously quite a complex character.
You shouldn't be here tonight. For him, food is like a religion. He's quite a disturbing figure. Listen. I said listen. That silence means I'm free.
Margot is an enigma, and she's supposed to be.
We're asking Anya to do so much with very little dialogue.
Anya's ability to switch in and out of the warmth she can have in one moment, but the hatred and distrust and shock and that, and I mean, it's just like the raw emotion.
Tyler, what the hell is going on? Tyler is also an obsessive, but he's the exact type of obsessive that Slowick hates.
Tyler is going to demonstrate his culinary expertise.
He's a fervent believer in everything Chef Slowick said. He worships him.
We're all going to die tonight. Isn't that right?
Elsa is the maitre d' or the restaurant captain. You'll eat less than you desire and more than you deserve.
Elsa is Chef Slowick's #1 disciple.
I take care of the customers so that Chef can take care of the menu.
Hong brought tremendous depth and a specificity to it.
You will not replace me.
I think Mark Mylod has created a great atmosphere of an ensemble, a company, all enjoying each other's work and appreciating each other.
It's completely different type of horror. I hope people say that they've never seen anything like that before, because I certainly haven't.
And on that note, food.
Okay, I'm back. It's later in the day. I had some things to run out and do, but I'm home now. And we're using this camera again. So we're back on the better camera. See if it holds up. See if we stay in sync. It looks like we are. What I want to finish this off with, I'd have another one of those fake interviews. With this one is with Luca Guadagnino, the Italian director of Bones and All, which is this cannibalistic horror film. I don't know why people are saying that. It's like a big spoiler. I mean, I don't think we should say cannibalistic, but everybody is, so I'm saying it. That opens actually next Wednesday. And we're running the review Friday because, well, I don't know what to do when we have a movie that opens on Wednesday. Do you run the review the Friday before or the Friday after it opens? We usually run it the Friday after it opens, but I thought we'd change it around this time, see how it works. Mainly because Glass Onion, the Knives Out sequel, or second in that series, is also opening next Friday, and we want to use that as the lead piece on the section, so this will be, give it a little bit better play if we run it this week maybe. So we did. And but it opens Wednesday, should be everywhere Wednesday. It's an interesting film. It's I talked to Keith Garlington, who reviewed this, and his review is pretty much spot on to what I said. In fact, down to some of the same allusions I would make. I thought it resembled Badlands, the Martin Sheen, Sissy Spacek, Terrence Malick film, quite a bit, and he mentions that in his review. So this is, I'm going to jump in here occasionally, but this is basically one of those canned things where I'm supposed to be asking Luca, the director, about his movie, but I'm really not, because You know, they just send us these answers with the questions in between there. This is what you're supposed to ask him about. I forgot what I'm supposed to ask you about now. Luca, so could you just say something about the movie?
And the more I was reading, the more I felt this was something that I knew how to do it, and most importantly, it was unconsciously pulling me into it. And there was a third element that was very strong to me, that when Lee appears on the page, I felt that that character was, for me, certainly a great role for Timothy. And of course, me and Timothy, we had a great experience doing Call Me By Your Name. We have a strong bond, and I was experiencing the beautiful blooming of his wonderful path in cinema, his wonderful persona, and I felt like, oh my God, that could be a great opportunity. So at the end of the reading, I called Dave and said, listen, it's great, and I'm thinking that I could do it, and I said, I will do it only if Timothy does it.
Okay, Luca, would you say this is a story about
outcasts, people who are outside the concept of society? They are not included. They kind of not even excluded. They kind of like live at the margin of the sense of the system of life. And so we had to build a logical, in the sense of the emotional logic of things, world where you had a very great commitment to the nature of these people and the worlds through which they cross their path. And the 80s as well. My motto is, when I do period movies, is always that we need to make it as if we are making a movie in that period of time, not about that period of time.
So this is a road movie, like Thelma and Louise.
I think that, first of all, it's a novel from Camille De Angelis, and that's how Dave wrote it. But I think the idea of the wanderer, the idea of the road, the being on the road, it's so connected with America, with the certain archetypes of America, the frontier, the reinvention of self. That was so strongly American. And I also love the idea that this is something happening in a period of time, the 80s, who somehow were so optimistic. Economy was booming in the Reaganomics. Conflict was kind of sedated, and yet the country was more impoverished than ever. And the great conflicts were there. Let's think of the AIDS crisis, for instance. So I thought that the contradiction in the period was very strong about how we could visualize the internal contradictions of these characters, their quest for settlement, but at the same time the impossibility of such.
What is Bones and All actually about?
I think Bones and All is a film about the impossibility of love and the aim for finding home, but also in a way the impossibility of that dream of home.
What about the theme of finding home, of homeward boundness in the movie?
As I said, it's like about children being lost in the wilderness and having to find a way back home and finding that there is no such a place as home and have to reinvent the possibility of home, and again, not being able to do that. It's about the disenfranchised. In this sense, it's archetypical for that. And as I said before, it's very much in par with some idea of the travelogue, the American travelogue, in my opinion.
Can you talk about this Canadian actress, Taylor Russell?
So, Taylor, I wish she was a discovery of mine, but she is not. Like, she has been doing a lot of work, and I discovered her to I guess the movie that discovered her, which is Waves by Trey Schultz. She appears in the movie peripherically at the beginning in Waves, and then she becomes the protagonist of the third part, the third act, as they say. And she was extraordinary there. And then when I and Dave started to talk about the cast, I think we had different ideas. I'm not going to speak for his ideas, but I knew I wanted Taylor. I said, I think Taylor is the only one who could do it. And I called her agent, who is a friend, and I said, can I talk to Taylor via Zoom? And we did that, and I found immediate connection with Taylor. And then, like, very few days later, I called her and said, the role is yours if you want it. So I didn't audition her. She got the role out of my knowledge of what she had done before and the fact that she really felt perfect for playing Maren.
There's a lover in the story, but the story's still the same. There's a lullaby for suffering and a paradox to blame. I didn't know I had permission to murder and to maim. You want it darker? We kill the flame.
You don't think I'm a bad person?
Hey, nay, 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 nay.
All I think is that I love you.
You look like the kind that's convinced himself he's got this under his thumb.
Hey, nay, nay.
But you pull on one little thread and...
I'm ready. My lord. Magnified, sanctified be thy holy name. Vilified, crucified in the human frame. You want it darker? We kill the flame.
Maybe love will set you free.